Let's tell you about this disturbing development. The murder of 2 people outside the Randburg Magistrate's Court last week has brought into sharp focus the issues of safety and security of witnesses. The one was meant to witness against 4 police officers who are accused of assaulting her. The husband and wife duo were gunned down literally minutes before they were due to go inside the court. We speak now to NPA advocate Karen van Rensburg for more on this. Thank you very much, Karen, for your patience with us this afternoon. In this particular case where this was done so brazenly, what is it that you know about whether this couple had or enjoyed witness protection? If they did not, why not?
Good afternoon. Thank you very much for having me, and good afternoon to the viewers. Let me just start off by conveying my sincere, and on behalf of the NPA, our sincere condolences to the family of the deceased. This is truly a tragic event. These individuals, although they were witnesses in the case, were not part of the witness protection program which is part of the National Prosecuting Authority, or let me rather say, part of the Department of Justice and Constitutional Development service that we offer. And so unfortunately they were not on the program and did not enjoy that protection.
Mm-hmm. So in order to understand the link, were they going to help the NPA's case?
Yes, they will. Well, anybody who is, you get witnesses in a case, and the NPA seeks to contribute to determining justice and a just outcome in any case. So all witnesses will contribute to assisting the court in arriving at an outcome. And yes, these were witnesses for the state, which are the people that we represent as the National Prosecuting Authority.
Okay. If they are witnesses for the state, why did this couple not have witness protection? How does the NPA assess risk? You've got 4 police officers that are accused of assaulting one of the witnesses. And so what assessment was done to come to a determination that they did not need witness protection?
The NPA is a prosecuting authority, so we do not conduct any risk assessments on our witnesses. The investigating officers in matters, or the witness themselves, will bring it to the attention of the investigating officer or that of the prosecutor where they believe that there is a risk. And then they do conduct a risk assessment using the various intelligence agencies that are available to them within the police structures. And they will then approach us for protection. We do not get involved in that risk assessment until the risk has been identified by the investigating officer.
Ms. van Rensburg, there are reports, more so today, there is an article that has been penned about a lack of investigative officers in the country. Given that investigative officers in the NPA work quite intimately, and in light of this situation where you have 2 witnesses that are gunned down so brazenly outside court, is there an opportunity maybe to better this situation where the NPA maybe can even get more involved, right, to sort of plug the gap? We understand there's some 8,000 investigating officers that are needed in South Africa. And so in the absence of that, can the NPA do more to protect witnesses?
The whole of the criminal justice system as a whole is suffering from severe resource constraints. I think anybody who's watched the news is aware of the fact that the budget has just been, or the AE&E, adjusted estimates of national expenditure, has just been tabled, and there were budget cuts for the National Prosecuting Authority introduced in this current financial year. SAPS did get an additional budget allocation, but that was just to fund the current bodies that they have. So it is a real a problem for the NPA that only has 5,000 people, while the SAPS has over 116,000 people, for the NPA that needs to actually focus on the prosecutorial functions to integrate backward into policing functions. And of course, then also there's a constitutional mandate that the NPA has. And similarly, the SAPS have their mandate. So, and we do not have the resourcing capability or the skills to conduct investigations or access to intelligence component, because oftentimes the risk assessment is based on intelligence and the gathering of intelligence, and that's all within the police's domain.
Gobsmacked, because when you speak of the prosecutorial functions, right, how concerning is it that the NPA also finds itself having to prosecute some of the people that you should be working intimately with, where the police are concerned or where SAPS is concerned? In this particular instance, you've got maybe 4 police officers that are alleged, right, because it has not been proven, that are alleged to have assaulted this woman who passed away with her husband, and because they were shot. How concerning is it that the departments that are supposed to be working together find themselves at odds and on the opposite sides of the law?
Well, I wouldn't say that we are on opposite sides of the law, because there is an investigation team that has brought this case to us. And they are within the police structures. We have IPID that is also the watchdog for the police. And so I don't want to say that we are at opposite sides. Similarly, the investigating officer that has to investigate his own colleagues similarly is facing a very, very difficult situation. And it is also very difficult for us, because we often you build a bond with your investigators and you work closely with them, and it's very hard to prosecute those individuals when it is necessary. But at the National Prosecuting Authority, we believe that we have prosecutors with high level of integrity, and that they will act without fear, favour or prejudice, and that they will do the right thing. Within our own systems, we also offer support services to our prosecutors and mechanisms to try and protect them where we do detect a threat, which has occurred and is becoming more of an occurrence regularly than what we saw in the past. The environment of prosecuting has become far more dangerous. And even at our courts, these people were gunned down brazenly right in front of a court. Where prosecutors and policemen and other government employees have to work. That really is a very, very scary situation for everybody involved in that. So it's just an absolute disregard for the law.
Ms. van Rensburg, you speak of only 5,000 in terms of the team that comprises the National Prosecuting Authority in relation to a population of how many people, especially in light of the recent census. And so the number of the population is growing, but the number of people within the NPA is it fair to say it's dwindling? And so what sort of a picture does that paint for the country at large, more so when we speak of enforcing law and order for people to feel safe?
So in total, we're just over 6,000, but prosecutors are just under 5,000. The numbers have not dwindled. We've been quite fortunate as the NPA in recent years to receive some budget, and we were able to increase our numbers by quite a lot, over about 1,000 individuals. But yes, you're 100% correct. The workload, and it's not just the workload, the complexity of the cases that we are dealing with now in comparison with cases we were dealing with 10, 15 years ago are far more time-consuming and onerous on the prosecuting authority. And we certainly are of the view that we do require a lot more prosecutors for us to be as effective as we would like to be.
What's different between now and 10, 15 years ago?
In terms of the cases that we're doing. So 10, 15 years ago, your case would be 1 or 2 accused with 3 or 4 charges, in other words, against them. Now in our regional courts and our high courts, where we're dealing with complex matters, we are looking at some of our cases where you have 20 accused, 25 accused, 5,000 counts. And you can imagine how many witnesses there are that you've got to be. That's not the normal case, but on average, the cases are more complex, there are more accused, and there are a lot more challenges. The other thing where our workloads have significantly increased is the civil litigation against state institutions, which has required a response to that. People have become litigious as a country, and that's also placing a very large burden on us as a prosecuting authority.
Add to that, Ms. van Rensburg, is we heard from on Friday, it was the Minister of Justice, Thandi Modise, the police minister. I forget the name, or the name escapes me, evades me right now in terms of that cluster. But they mentioned that in a period of 6 months, you had over 200,000 arrests under Operation Ramela. So you've also got people that are being incarcerated by the police for various offenses, whether it's guns, whether it's kidnappings, that's what they mentioned, whether it's cash and transit heists. How much more does that then offer a challenge in terms of the work that you do, because we'll be getting another report in 6 months' time to say X amount of South Africans have been arrested for various offences?
We do work very closely with the police on operations when they do have them, and we do put plans in place to make sure that we can deal with an increase in workload that is brought about by it. And for example, over the festive season, we might even work with the police, specifically in the KZN. We have in the past had weekend courts, and because to deal with the workload and people that we arrested, where we have zero tolerance towards alcohol abuse and drinking and driving. But in general, when we compare year to year, the number of cases that are coming into the NPA fluctuate, but they more or less, it's not a big fluctuation. On average, when you smooth it out, then it is more or less the same. But as I say, when you have a project that suddenly brings on a lot of cases in a short period of time, it does place a huge burden on our overstretched capacity.
Sure. My colleague, the executive producer of the show, Jose Masilela, just reminded me it's the security cluster. In closing up the conversation and the 2 witnesses that were gunned down outside the Randburg Magistrate's Court last week, what happens? Then what?
Well, obviously now the police will have opened a murder docket, and they will investigate and obviously follow up all the leads. I don't want, I'm not an investigating officer, but obviously they will start with leads and intelligence that they gather. And I'm really confident that the police will, in a case like this, it's obvious where they will start, and I'm very confident that they will bring somebody to book, working closely with the prosecutors, and we really hopeful that we will very soon have people before court and hold them accountable for what they've done here.
Thank you very much, ma'am, for your time this afternoon. NPA advocate, Ms. Karen van Rensburg.